Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
The curtain of night is drawn back. The telescopes are trained. The domes are open. The audience is set. Now, step into the event horizon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is another Friday evening. This one is March the 1st, 2019, 9 o'clock in the evening. For those of us here in the eastern portion of North America, Universal Time would put that Saturday morning, March the 2nd, at 2 o'clock in the morning. That means we are live right now on the radio. My name is Marty Coons with my co-host. I'll do it. Nikki Vetz. 2 Echo Tango. Oh, I almost had that memorized, but
2 Echo Zero Lima Uniform November.
Getting there. If I hear it a few hundred more times, maybe I'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get used to it, Marty.
Yeah.
And then just when you're used to it, I'll be changing my call sign.
There you go.
You love that one. So, having said that, yes, it's Friday night, and we're taking over the world.
We are. At least the airwaves. Well, except we're not on airwaves.
Yeah, well, as I say, as Pinky, as the brain would say, we're taking over the world.
That's
anyway,
right.
So
someday we'll get to the universe.
Yeah, but that's going to be not until we become immortals, like the Highlander.
There you go.
Anyway, so Red, who's in this chat room? Thank you,
Starstorm.
So we have in the chat room Starstorm, Redshirt 3, myself, yourself. Glenn, Cassie, Black Projects. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. And to see you, nice. Sorry, I had to put that one, and I'm sure BP knows where I got that from.
Yeah.
You
can get. Tell them where they can get. Where can they find the chat room at?
It is at astronomy.fm/chat.
There you go.
And I have put the link on Facebook.
All
it's
right.
on AFM Facebook page. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Central New York Observer's Facebook page, as well as the link to the audio channel as well.
Nice. Cool. All right. So we got some stuff to talk about. Stuff coming up. Want to get to what's coming up, so we hit that one first.
Let's do the crew capsule first.
I think so too. All right. Go ahead to start talking. I'll pop a link in there from NASA.
Okay. Well, I've actually got a couple of links from NASA already primed. You know me. I am always prepared.
I'll shoot for them, and I'll just do the.
Oh my God! Aqua for You's just joined us. Hello, Aqua for You.
I'll do the title of it. Tomorrow morning, in exactly 5 hours, 45 minutes, and 27 seconds from now, will be the launch of the SpaceX rocket with a Crew Dragon on a demo flight for commercial crew program. In other words, they're gonna test the capsule. The Dragon capsule.
This is kind of make and break for SpaceX, because this is actually the first time it's actually going to be properly launched. And of course, the other thing is, a successful launch means that America will actually finally have its own space capsule again.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Yeah, you guessed it. SLS and Orion, they're back behind schedule again.
Mm-hmm. Was Blue Origin going to come up with a capsule too? Do you know, or are they just going to strictly be?
They are doing that. It's Starman. I believe it's the Starman clone number 2.
Okay.
Better known British viewers as the Stig.
I was going to say Cousin Starman.
Well, don't know. I suspect that Mr. Musk has a secret lab somewhere where he is cloning the Stig.
There you go.
Renaming him the Starman. So this is going to be Starman 2. He will be sitting in the capsule. And it's going to be interesting when those guys, when it cracks the hatch and there's this dummy's going like this, and it's waving its hand back and forth like a lucky cat from Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a robotic one would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? We could just do a little bit of movement once.
Well, they have robots on the ISS anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Cracking the hatch and then suddenly seeing this robot going with his hand going back and forth. That could be scary.
I think that'd be fun. That would certainly be one of those mysteries. Like, was there a real person on there that they didn't tell? And here's all the conspiracy hypothesis, not theories, hypothesis, and just to throw everybody off for at least 40 or 50 years. Like, who was really on board that capsule?
And who was he replaced with?
Exactly. And who's the imposter?
What was that film about the airline where the aircraft were being boarded from a time tunnel and the passengers replaced with dummies, Millennium or something?
Oh, there were several of them like that, I think. I can't remember. Wasn't there a TV show too?
There was a Millennium TV show, yeah.
Okay, I remember a guy that was a race car driver that got like transported to the future, or they swapped him out too soon, or because he really
that was hijacked. That was Hijack. It was based on a science fiction novel.
Okay. Well, several ideas like that. Yeah, there was the one that was the...
I believe it was the lead singer from the Rolling... Mick Jagger played him.
Okay.
Movie.
I don't remember. Oh, well. We'll see. We'll see. So we went way off on a tangent there.
Well, let's face it. Elron does kind of do that to you sometimes. I have to admit, I don't care if he smokes pot occasionally, and if he's man enough to admit it, good for him. He's brought the electric car into pretty much regular use in the US. He has built the first reusable rocket and the first reusable Super Falcon. He is going to build the Anastasia, because that will not only go to the moon, it will go to Mars, and possibly even into the asteroid belt.
You know, if he jumped into one of his own rockets and capsule, he could actually be the highest guy in the world.
In order to do that, he would need to go out of low Earth orbit into high Earth orbit.
Beyond the moon orbit, one of those extended elliptical orbits beyond the moon that they're talking about.
If he goes, the ISS is in low Earth orbit.
Yep.
So if he only goes into high Earth orbit, he's still the highest man in the world.
No, because there's guys that went to the moon.
Yeah, but there's nobody on the moon at the minute. Only a robot called Changi 4. Well,
yeah, but there were people on the moon, and they're still alive, so that technically they were the highest guys in the.
Yeah, he would certainly be eligible for the club.
Yeah, so if he does that big loop beyond the moon's orbit, then he would be the highest guy in the whole world.
Oh yeah, I'll give you that one, Marty. I'll give you that one.
All right. Well, anyways, the time would be 2:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for North America is when it will launch. And, of course, you can watch that on NASA TV. They'll be starting at about 2 a.m., starting their coverage at Eastern Standard Time.
You can also watch it on the SpaceX website as well.
Well, that's true, too. Yep, either one. Sometimes they put it on Facebook Live also. So I've had to go through different ones, actually. So sometimes they'll start out with one, like Facebook Live, and then that cuts off after a while. And then you got to go over to the NASA page, NASA TV, stuff like that. Now, the Facebook Live, what's about that is everybody in the world can tune in and watch it and make comments in the chat, kind of like our chat room, and you get some really more, not even, we don't get really weird stuff, but they get really weird posts in their Facebook Live.
They do on the YouTube channel as well for SpaceX.
Yeah, they could literally fly to the moon, do it live on Facebook, and say, flat earthers will say, see, this proves the earth is flat. Really weird stuff.
Well, yeah, excuse me, on the last SpaceX launch, I started watching on the YouTube, but they had sound issues, and you had all the flat earthers, all the dodgy political types with an axe to grind against various countries, and of course, no one was there. They're supposed to moderate it, and no one was moderating it. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna chuck this one. I'm gonna go over to SpaceX. You can't chat on SpaceX's website, but you can get sound, you can get video.
Yep.
And I went back, opened up an extra browser and went back and says, hey guys, I hate to tell you this, I'm watching this on the SpaceX website and I have got sound. And I was like, everyone, oh, you're horrible. You're horrible. Well, I said, yeah, deal with it.
with the Facebook one, there's only really enough room to have like about 15 posts show at a time. So good and bad sometimes. The posts fly by really fast. So they're like constantly scrolling. So even the really wacky ones will disappear real quick before most people could even answer. That's one problem too. If I try to correct somebody that even asks a serious question, by the time I type an answer, the question's pretty much scrolled up and gone. You can kind of pull it back down again, but it's hard to get the timing of answering questions. Oh, and by the way, anybody that listens to astronomy.fm and you go on that Facebook Live thing, just put in astronomy.fm every once in a while. Kind of like free advertising for us. I do that too. I just put in astronomy.fm. It's like, oh, why not? Let everybody see that. I mean, if you can have flat earthers in there, we can have, our website in there.
Absolutely. See, what gets me is if the Earth was flat, the lunar eclipses would be just a bar. And I hate to say this.
Well, if it was on edge, but if the moon and the eclipse of the sun was centered, then it would be a round shadow. But nothing makes sense in the flat Earth stuff anyway.
I know. They're so whacked out and probably so high on whatever they were smoking.
I know.
The thing is, we've got pictures of the Earth from the moon. We've got pictures of the Earth from orbit. We've got pictures of the Earth taken by space probes heading to Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, even to the Kuiper Belt. Every space probe to date has done its version of the pale blue dot. And I'm sorry, you can definitely see the fact that the Earth is round, that it's a sphere.
Yeah, you could just never get in the proper conversation. It's hard to do it like in a chat type of scenario of explaining it, because you have to type, something pretty long, and you can't type in graphics too easily enough. It's like, it would be much easier that way, or talking one-on-one with somebody and be able to draw out why things don't work. Somebody said, like, they had the sun was only 4,000 miles above the Earth, and then it was like, well, how come it doesn't hit the edge of the Earth and burn up then? When how come the whole world doesn't see a sunset? And then they've got they show a sun, and its light dispersion is cone-like. It comes down. Now, how does a round bulb form a cone of light?
Yeah,
it's
the same. It's the same thing. Like someone said that. The explanation for dark matter is due to crystallography and to a crystalline state in space. This was an ongoing thread on a fairly serious Facebook group. This one guy insisted that everything about dark matter could be explained by the fact it's a crystal lattice that is causing the effect of dark energy and dark matter. Like, I'm sorry, even if you go into some of the earlier cosmology stuff, they pretty much said it that we can see crystal structures, but in space we can't replicate it. You can't have giant crystals that big, and to be that effective they have to be big. And I'm sorry, with Hubble, we would be able to see these things, and we don't see them. Oh yeah, hang on. I forget, because we're all in the pay of NASA, and NASA's keeping a big, dark secret. Somebody needs to grow up.
The way crystals grow is in a liquid. That's how you get crystals. They have to be formed in a liquid. or unless it's just tremendous amounts of pressure, which obviously is not in space, like diamonds.
That then I don't really know, because, to be honest, the guy who keeps posting this stuff in a certain Facebook group, he's a total wacko. Even me and another guy who actually has a degree in cosmology tried to explain it to him in simple sentences. It's like, you're brainwashed by NASA. I said, in that case, I'm brainwashed by ESA, NASA, Roscoff, JAXA, and the Chinese space program, because they're all saying the same thing, really.
Yeah, people definitely have brain blocks, and it's some of that's natural too. Teaching kids, for instance, at different age levels, they have different levels of perception. So at certain ages, for instance, when a kid looks at the moon, if they're younger than a certain age, I can't remember where the division is now, but they see it not as a ball, but as like a flat plate. So they cannot picture the moon as being a round ball. They can only picture it as like a flat disc. And even as people get older, they have a hard time perceiving, for instance, what the Earth looks like if they were out in space looking back down on it. They can't get that perception right. Things can get flipped around. The east and west can get flipped around and stuff like that, and which way things turn and move, and the way shadows are. So if you're standing on the moon when it's, for instance, first crescent, and you're looking back at the Earth, they can't imagine that the Earth is lit on the opposite side as the moon would be when they see it in the nighttime sky. So people's perceptions are even with normal perception, just their age limits them, and then some people just never lose that too.
What gets me is there's this thing about the dark side of the moon.
Yes, that's the one that's gone around.
It's the far side of the moon, for God's sake, people. The moon is tidally locked. When it is new moon and we cannot see it, it is because the sun is shining on the other side of the moon. Oh my God! It's so simple.
But the tough one is that in order to be tidally locked, the moon has to rotate. The moon actually rotates, and that's really a tough one for a lot of people.
It gets me, the fact that we have imaged the far side of the moon. The dark side of the moon is an excellent piece of rock music by Pink Floyd. Okay, so you're going to talk about the dark side of the moon. I'm going to automatically assume you're talking rock music, and it's Pink Floyd. Rock on, man! This is a great album. But the thing is, we had the very first Soviet images hijacked. Along with the Venus and Mars images by Jodrell Bank. May it go on forever and get stronger. Then, of course, we had LRO Clementine. We had the Cayuga mission that imaged, that's even improved on the resolution between the original Ranger missions with their faxed images back to Earth, which were brilliant for the technology. You're using a fax machine. It's about 14.4K at the best, and it's slow and it's grainy, but it showed us the far side of the moon. Yes, it is even more hammered than the near side of the moon. Why? Because of the late great bombardment. And you can be thankful for that. Otherwise, we would not be here. Because if it wasn't for the moon, that bombardment would have really and utterly trashed the surface of the Earth. And I think it would have probably made life very difficult. Yeah. Certainly, we do have major impact events. Chicxulub, there's a crater near Ontario that they've discovered. There's two in Greenland. There's Barringer crater in Arizona. Come on, people, wake up. We have two objects in space that protect us. The nearest one is our neighbor, the moon. The other one is Jupiter. But Jupiter can be a little bit temperamental. Thank you, Starstorm. It can decide if it's going to be a Hoover or it's going to be a catapult. In that case, it's time for the moon to step up and take one for the planet Earth, which it frequently does. It still does. There are amateur astronomers still today capturing images of lunar impacts. Thankfully, not the size that happened, 2.8 billion years ago, roughly. Because I can tell you what, if that was still happening, forget it. No dinosaurs, no humans. But the thing is, the moon protects us. Jupiter protects us. And at the end of the day, it sometimes even throws us a very, very nice, spectacular image. It's called a comet. And when the comet does it nicely and right, we get a beautiful tail. Hale-Bopp was one. Hyakutake was another. My God, Halley's Comet back in, I think it was 1910. No, 1900 and 1910. Two spectacular comets. 1910. We had the Great Comet. The fact the Earth went through the tail of the Great Comets. And
wait, which is different than Halley's Comet.
Different comet.
Yes, there was a Great Comet in 1910, and there was Halley's Comet also. Two different comets.
But the thing was, we went through the comet's tail for the comet. And of course, people were selling pills to protect you from cyanogen in the comet's tail. Good grief. It's got the atmosphere to get through first. Not going to happen. I thought it was the best. I know some people who actually have bottled these pills that were bottled and sold to gullible people. And it's like, I really wonder if they'll actually work. I don't think so somehow. But of course, it was the big thing. Oh my God, we're gonna be suffocated by the tail of the Great Comet or something. And you know what? As P.T. Barnum once said, there's a sucker born every minute. By Jove, a lot of people got suckered.
Well, it was back a time when there was lack of data where they could actually see the cyanide in the tail, but they didn't know its density, so it could have rained. You know, if it was denser and you had cyanide raining down in the atmosphere, that could have been a bad thing. They just didn't have enough data back then. And then all the con artists said, well, if we're going to die anyways, let's see if we can sell you some pills to protect you from...
Well, the thing is, comets have gone from being harbingers of doom and gloom. Back in the early Chinese period, a comet could either start a war or it could finish one, depending on your outlook.
I think that was through Europe also.
1066 and all that. Halley's Comet was in the sky, and Harold was told it was a bad omen for him. They've gone from being things of bad omen and terror. Things of beauty. Yeah, exactly, Starstrom, to things of beauty.
Well, unless they hit the Earth, then it's things of sheer terror once again. And there's still plenty of potential for that.
There is, but the thing is, though, we are able to track these things. We know their orbits. And for one to hit the Earth without us knowing about it, it would be one heck of a rogue orbit. Let's face it, we have identified, the second interstellar visitor to this planet. Well, to the solar system, anyway. The first one is actually now in the Jupiter family. It got captured. The second one was Oumuamua, and is on its way out of the solar system. It's resuming its journey. It's come and said hello, wake up, cool people, and now I'm going to go on my way and say goodbye. But the thing is, we're getting better. We have these generations of technological leaps. Because of that, our instruments get refined, they get better, we see more. I got
a trivia question for you when you're ready.
Okay.
Can the moon ever have two dark sides at the same time?
Unless you're talking about an eclipse.
There you go.
Nice try, Marty. I'm on the ball tonight.
All right. Take another sip and I'll ask you another one sometime soon.
Well, I've got my glass of wine here.
Okay.
But the thing is, we are getting better at detecting stuff. We're getting to the point where I reckon in about 20 or 30 years, that's a good point, Red Shirt 3. Sometimes they come out of the sun. Chelyabinsk was one of them. It was one of those really unpredicted paths, but that's made us realize that they're there. Now,
that wasn't a very big one anyway, so.
No, it wasn't. It was an airburster. It did damage.
Yeah, but the size of it is different from a large one coming out of the sun. So the large one coming out of the sun will most likely be detected. Well, the farther out it comes from, the bigger it is, the sooner we could see it. So if it was really big and it was going to hit us from the sun, we would probably see it about 4 months earlier than that.
Yeah. And the thing is, we've got programs like NeoWatch, we've got programs like SpaceWatch, and they are charting the skies. They are just like the Palomar survey and the Catalina surveys. They are looking at every significant thing that moves in our solar system. Between all the surveys, they pick up, I would say, a good chunk of what's out there. Now, I know that the guys on Mount Lemmon last week got hit with so much snow they couldn't even get up the mountain to the observatory. But when they are active, they are exposing CCD all the time. They're doing blinking. They're blinking images electronically today, not the mechanical one that Clyde Tournbee used to discover Pluto, but it's still the same principle. Excuse me a second. I'm still getting over a cold. But the thing is, we're getting better and better at looking for this stuff. We're learning our lessons very, very quickly. And I will say this much, even the politicians have stopped sticking their heads in the sand about things like near-Earth objects and about anything.
So far. There's always another election year.
Absolutely. And you know what? I hate to say this, maybe it's time we put some younger people in the house or houses.
Yep. It doesn't matter what their age is, it's just their intelligence level and reasoning. And reasoning is mostly a lot more important too.
And it's a lack of science. Science in this country is under attack. It is easier for a pseudo-scientist to make an outrageous claim and not have to back it up than it is for a proper scientist to make a statement and then he has to back it up with facts and theories. He has to show all the evidence. If you're peddling mumbo jumbo about Nirabu or whatever, you don't have to back up your facts. You can just point your fingers. Oh, NASA's paying people to cover it up. Like heck it is, because in that case, NASA's budget would be so over in the red, it wouldn't be funny. And to be honest, they couldn't hide a budget drain like that from Congress and Senate. They have to prove where every cent of the NASA budget goes. And unless it's in it's coming from a black ops fund, which I don't really think would happen. Paying amateur astronomers to keep their mouths shut. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. There'd be a lot of rich amateur astronomers then.
We'd have even bigger telescopes. But the thing is, amateur astronomers are like a bunch of gossiping old women. Sorry, folks, but it's true. We love to talk. We love to post pictures of the latest thing we've imaged.
And they're not always true.
But let's say trying to stop an amateur astronomer from posting a picture on Facebook, Instagram, Astrobin, just to name 3 places, is impossible. And don't forget, you've got people all around the world with telescopes. NASA can't pay them all off. The Russians certainly can't afford to. And I'm pretty sure, well, maybe the Chinese could probably silence a fair number, but they would probably see it as more as a propaganda coup to actually have the truth out, to actually say there's this big hunk of rock coming and the Americans and the Russians and the Europeans are all bribing people to shut up about it.
Well, I would shut up. I'd have to pay a lot of money in order to afford my lifestyle. That's going to happen just before a large asteroid hits the Earth.
Yeah, I want to sit on the Anastasia, thank you. But the reason I call it Elan's rocket ship Anastasia is because the design he's got for his interplanetary ship is so like the ship that Colonel Dan Dare had back in the Eagle comic strips. It was an automatic thing, and I think even Starstrom picked that up straight away for the first time we saw the picture of what he felt it was going to look like. And yes, that's the Anastasia. Dan Dare's got it right again. But seriously, folks, it can't be hushed up.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible. There's just too many ways. I can have a virtual private network. I can circumvent any censorship put on the internet, and I could get the word out within 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Or I've just imaged this rock and it's coming our way. There's nothing the American government could do to stop me. And by the time it's hit Facebook and stuff, it's too late. Because people will look at it and they will share it, and other people will share it, and it'll just go viral.
Unless they knock out Facebook and other social media things, that's possible.
Even abroad. Don't forget,
Yep.
Facebook, although it's an American company, it has nodes in other countries.
I think it's filtered out of some countries anyways, by the way.
It is. There's certain countries that are blocking it. For instance, if you go to China and you don't have a foreign citizen's SIM and VPN, you can't access Facebook. There is Weibo, but you have to have a VPN to get onto Facebook, and to get a VPN, you have to be a foreigner, basically. Russia is trying to build its own internet network, so it can cut itself off from the rest of the world if it wants to.
It's on social media. We can all join the Russian social media since it's compared to these. That might be better. Oh, by the way, guess what? We're halfway through our program already, so we'll do a little station identification. You're listening to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.fm radio. It is Friday evening, March the 1st, 2019, about 9:30 in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. So universal time, that would put it Saturday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, March the 2nd, again, 2019. Of course, halfway through our program, we still got another half hour, and of course, more program coming up after the Event Horizon, including Jodcast will be coming up too. So check that out.
And of course, the show will be posted on the AFM Facebook page.
There you go.
It will be posted on my Facebook page.
Okay.
And I will no doubt post it all over a few other groups' Facebook pages.
All right.
Tomorrow.
And don't forget, we've got our chat room open for you to come on over and join us at astronomy.fm, the homepage. We've got you and me in our chat room so far. We've got Glenn, Starstorm, Cassie, Redshirt 3, and Aqua for you.
Yeah, Redshirt 3 saying it says it's impossible to keep the fact that Elvis was still alive a secret. Yeah, he's living and working in London in the Chippy in Walthamstow.
And nobody believed he actually left the building.
Exactly.
Let's get some little news out there. Since we were talking about dark matter and stuff like that, here's one from NASA.
I got one from National Geographic.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, missing mass. They think they've got an idea where the missing mass is. They think at least 30% of the mass that formed during the Big Bang has not been accounted for, and they think they've got a one. Where are you, chat room? The article didn't go. I'll get there anyways. Anyways, they think they've kind of figured it out that the hydrogen, helium, oxygen, some of those early gases are out there, and they're kind of in filaments throughout the whole universe, but there are ways that they can't actually detect them directly. But now they've kind of figured out how to use the Chandra X-ray Observatory by looking at, I think, quasars.
Yeah.
Analyzing the light and using spectrum to figure out that, well, if they get some of these filaments to actually line up, they can kind of barely detect some of these atoms that are absorbing X-rays. And be able to actually figure out that, yeah, there is some of that original gas that's actually out there.
Okay.
And having it in filaments would explain it.
It's string theory.
It's filament theory.
Okay, seriously though, folks, the visible universe, that includes the Earth, the Sun, other stars and galaxies, is made up of photons, neutrons, and electrons bundled together in atoms. The most surprising discovery of the 20th century is that this ordinary or baryonic matter makes up less than 5% of the universe. The rest of the universe is made up of an mysterious invisible substance called dark matter, 25%, and a force that repels gravity known as dark energy, 70%. So we're yet to observe it directly. It doesn't interact with baryonic matter, and it's completely invisible to light and other forms of electromagnetic radiation. It makes it almost impossible to detect with current instruments. But why are we confident it exists? Because of the gravitational effect it appears to have on galaxy and galaxy clusters. For instance, according to standard physics, stars at the edge of a spinning spiral galaxy should travel much slower than those near the galactic center, where most of the visible matter is concentrated. But observations show that stars orbit at more or less the same speed regardless of where they are in the galactic disk. Well, it makes sense if one assumes that the boundary stars are feeling gravitational effects of an unseen mass, dark matter as a halo around the galaxy. It would also explain certain optical illusions that astronomers see in the deep universe. For example, pictures of galaxies that include strange rings and arcs of light could be explained if the light was from an even more distant galaxies being distorted and magnified by an invisible cloud of dark matter in the foreground. It's known, we call it gravitational lensing, predicted by Albert Einstein. In fact, gravitational lensing is one of the standard tests of relativity. So scientists have a few ideas of what dark matter might be. One leading hypothesis consists of exotic particles that don't interact with normal matter or light, but can still exert a gravitational pull. Several scientific groups, including the one at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, are currently working to generate dark matter particles for study in the lab. Yeah, basically that's what it is, Glenn. Some of these gravitational effects bend the light. So the obscured galaxy is behind perhaps a quasar or another galaxy, and the light is bent around it for us to see it. Some others think it could be a fundamental modification of our theories of gravity. Multiple forms of gravity and large-scale gravity governing galaxies differs from the gravity, well, to Newtonian gravity, which we're accustomed to. So, dark energy is even more mysterious. Its discovery in the 1990s was a complete shock. Previously, physicists had assumed that the attractive force of gravity would slow down the expansion of the universe over time. But two independent teams tried to measure the rate of deacceleration. And there was one problem. They found that the expansion was actually speeding up. One scientist described it was like trying to throw a set of keys in the air, expecting them to fall down, only to see them fly straight up towards the ceiling. Yes, Glenn, we'll certainly pardon your pause. So, they think that the accelerated expansion of the universe is driven by a repulsive force generated by quantum fluctuations in otherwise empty space. What's more, it's growing stronger as the universe expands. So for want of a better name, they called it dark energy. So unlike dark matter, they have no plausible explanation for dark energy. One idea is a fifth and previously unknown type of fundamental force called quintience, which fills the universe like a fluid. Now, I believe that there was actually a school of thought about the fluidic universe. I think it pretty much vanished quickly. So many scientists pointed out the known properties of dark energy are consistent with a cosmological constant, which was a mathematical band-aid. And Einstein added it to his theory of general relativity to make his equations fit with the idea of a static universe. Yeah, it is going to be hypothesis. Now, Redshirt 3's put into comments, Adam Rees et al. Found that the acceleration of the expansion found the expansion of the universe at Johns Hopkins. So anyway, according to Einstein, the constant would be a repulsive force that counteracts gravity, keeping the universe from collapsing in on itself. Interestingly, Einstein discarded the idea when astronomical observations revealed that the universe was expanding, and he called it his biggest blunder. So basically, at the moment, we know there's two other forces out there affecting us. One is keeping the local group of galaxies together instead of letting them flying apart. The other is, of course, pulling the universe apart and making it expand. And at the moment, let's consider there's an infinite space which they can expand into. So a lot of people were saying, well, eventually we're not going to see any of the galaxies. Well, yes, Glenn, you pick, and we love that you do pick. That makes it more fun for us when we're doing the show. And you got to be in the chat room to pick on us. If you're going to pick on us, you got to be in chat room where you can put your comments, and we do see them, we do acknowledge them, and we do comment on them. But as I say, the thing is, Einstein has always been more willing to look at things that he's done, like the cosmological constant, and as he pointed out, he ditched it. It was a mistake, and he was glad to get rid of it. You still there, Marty? Hello, Marty.
Sorry, I was there. I was just muted.
Oh, okay. So anyway, did you manage to find your link in the end?
Yes, I did. I put it in the chat room. This article is actually about not dark matter, but actual matter that should have been produced during the Big Bang, and they haven't been able to find it. And now they think they've got a pretty good idea of where it might possibly be in filaments throughout the whole universe. It's actually referred to as warm-hot intergalactic medium. So it's actual particles of hydrogen, and I think they found some oxygen and helium. I can't remember what else, but basically stuff that should have been formed around the time of the Big Bang that they haven't been identified. I think they said they haven't been able to identify, haven't been able to find maybe at least 30% of what's been predicted that should have formed around the time of the Big Bang. But now they think they might have a better clue on it, that it's gas that's basically throughout the universe in filaments.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, they've kind of like found a way of overlapping filaments to be able to get a strong enough signal to detect it.
Oh, by the way, Marty, the chat room thinks you were abducted.
I was abducted. I was just sleeping. That's okay. JAXA touchdown. No,
yes.
Sorry, not JAXA.
Hayabusa 2.
Yes, actually touched down on asteroid Ryugu. I can't remember if they've actually collected stuff or not, but they actually did the touchdown. I think it might have been just even a quick touchdown and blast that projectile into the surface and sucked it up into the space probe. So they got the latest image. Let me put that latest image in our chat room here of Hayabusa landing on Ryugu. There you go. Different countries having stuff all over the place. I don't have that Israeli mission. Private company from Israel built a lunar lander. Launched, I think, about a week ago Thursday, something like that, on a SpaceX rocket. And it's heading towards the moon. It's going to be a really slow trip. Instead of flying directly there, it went into a highly elliptical orbit around the Earth. And every time it gets into the closest part of its orbit, the Earth slingshots it a little farther out. So it's going to take, 4, 5, or 6 orbits around the Earth, highly elongated, before it's finally slingshotted out to close enough to get picked up by the moon. And it's going to land on the moon. So that'll be it's already launched, but it's going to be about 2 months. It's Space IL is the name of the company that built it. It's a private Israeli firm, by the way. So another country and private industry going to the moon. So that's kind of cool.
So this is good, really, because it means it's no longer down to individual nations to do this. Now, I just did actually put a quick link into the I put the JAXA link into. I've got another JAXA link that shows us the probe actually sitting on the surface of Ryugu. So is
it sitting there now? Okay, so it landed and staying there for a little bit, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. So
they do have a picture from the surface.
Yeah. But this is actually a picture from orbit.
What I like about all these different individual companies and countries putting together their own missions and stuff like that is each one is able to experiment independently, and I'd say without so much criticism as one organization would get. So they can all do their own little experiments, and then when it comes down to, they'll all have their own data, and then they can all contribute it into one mission, which I think is a lot easier than one agency trying to do different things like that. So I kind of like this, see different countries and different companies doing their own missions, and then hopefully they'll combine them together for something.
Well, Glenn's right. We are one world. And to be honest, going into space is expensive. Going to the moon, going back to the moon, going to Mars, the asteroid belt is a very resource-intensive operation.
For humans. For humans. Yes. Now, going to space is profitable.
Oh, yeah. Now, I did actually find a story about Space IL's Brer Sheet lander.
Okay.
So what's happened was it had a computer glitch. Computer glitch.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah. So it fired its main thruster at 4 minutes at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on February the 28th to raise its orbit after a computer problem postponed an earlier maneuver.
Okay.
So the maneuver finally happened as expected. The systems on the spacecraft are working properly now.
Okay, good.
Now, it was placed into its initial supersynchronous orbit on the 21st, and it was launched as a secondary payload from the SpaceX Falcon 9 out of Florida.
Okay.
So on the 24th, it raised the perigee of its orbit to 600 kilometers. Now, it's supposed to go to it raised its apogee on the 25th, but onboard computers have suffered a reset, which cancelled it. The operators have found their way around several problems, and it's considered quite normal for a new spacecraft. It is normal for a new spacecraft to have teething problems, particularly if you're new to space.
I know what it was. It was Microsoft that required a update right after launch. It's like, I gotta wait 3.5 minutes for the computer to update. I hate when that happens. It always happens like just before the show or something like that.
The thing is, you're kind of right, because it was small glitches in the software, and they used the actual commands in the software to fix it rather than so it's a software issue, not a hardware issue. Yep. Which is good, because I tell you what, trying to get that service technician out to there into high Earth orbit to fix it, that's going to be difficult now.
That is difficult, yes, but we're getting better at it. We're starting to be able to do that soon.
Yep. It's sad, really, because Google ended its sponsorship of the Lunar X Prize in early 2018 without a winner. Space IL decided to continue its lander through philanthropic donations, and part of the mission is to encourage Israeli kids to become scientists and engineers. Now, when you think about it, if you make one successful lander, it goes to the moon and it works. That means you can now offer other companies a lander. And in January, they've got an agreement with the German company OBH, so they can pursue opportunities with the European Space Agency. Mm-hmm. And as Duran says, Brer Sheet is working well. He would not be surprised if there's other technical problems in the weeks ahead. There's so many things you cannot test on Earth. But the thing is, this one little space probe that's going to the moon is going to really help bootstrap an awful lot of other countries. So, and there's some pictures, some related articles at the bottom of the article from Space News. Yes, Space News.
Looks like Canada is joining NASA in heading to the moon, so that's good.
The thing is, the more countries that get together to go back to the moon, the quicker we can do the more difficult stuff. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is a paraphrase. I'm sure you know where I got that from, Marty. The thing is, the difficult stuff is sending a man to Mars now. He's bringing that man or woman back alive after an extended stay. By going back to the moon, we have a close neighbor where we can test equipment for Mars. Obviously, the pressure suits will be different, but you can test spacecraft, You can test an awful lot of stuff, including put a habitat in place around in lunar orbit to test the equipment for said habitat on the first manned Mars probe.
And a lot of it's going to have to be radiation testing too.
Absolutely.
Radiation shielding is going to be one of the main things. We know that is a definite danger. Almost everything else is technology, getting the technology to repeatedly work safely.
Yeah.
You know, like this computer glitch, any rocket engine failures and stuff like that. It's mechanical. Or computer glitches. We can kind of get that figured out. We just have to do it consistently, testing it, find all the potential glitches, hopefully, and then solve all those problems. But a known risk is excessive radiation. Not knowing how to fix that one yet.
One of the ways around it is not to. The thing is, when you use metal in space, cosmic radiation hits the metal and it sprays secondary particles, alpha, beta, and gamma particles to be precise. So the actual metal of the hull has to be as thin as possible. Which is
electrons, protons, and neutrons.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, of course, is one of the good materials is plastic. Plastic and water are very good at absorbing radiation. Nothing comes out.
If it's thick enough.
Yeah. So you use, I think it was I can't remember, one of the plastics that we use a lot for containers. It's almost like Tupperware. So you build a Tupperware style container with a water core around it and another plastic wall.
There's PVC, I can't remember the other.
Yeah. Polyvinyl ethylene or something.
Okay.
But the thing is, by using 2 layers of plastic and water, you can help reduce secondary radiation. Yes, you still need a metal hull for a spacecraft, but this way you can help reduce some of the side effects. So a sandwich of plastic, water, and plastic on the inside, a metal hull on the outside. Interestingly, everybody thought that Elon was going to go for composite materials on his big rocket. He's going for stainless steel again. So it's interesting. He's going back to old technology. Believe it or not, if you wanted to fix a Saturn V rocket, you called a plumber in.
Yeah, well, stainless steel has its issues too. So it's been tried or it's been worked on in the past by NASA and other space agencies. So it has its issues. Can he conquer those issues? That'll be determined. See. Yes, indeed.
But it may be that his spacecraft, his Anastasia, is going to be a composite of composite materials and regular metal. But as I say, he has the funding to do this. He's funding it off the back of Falcon 9 and Super Falcon, because so many people have been buying up space on the regular Falcon 9s. He's got more money than he knows what to do with.
So nobody has that.
But you think about it, Marty. He has got his order books are so full at the minute that he can afford to do cutting edge research and build a spacecraft that can become an interplanetary craft.
Yep. But still doing it, he still does it economically, though. He watches the dollar. Got to watch that bottom line, because
the thing is, though,
it's really easy to spend too much money.
Yeah, but he has the order books and he has the investors behind him, because they know that building this type of rocket, or even if it's a reusable or refuelable spacecraft that can be used from space to space, literally, they can make money from it. And that is probably the most important thing. Space is economically very viable, because you can eventually mine asteroids. There could be a piece of rock out there that's got the Earth's name on it. We could go find it, mine it, and then reduce it to rubble. In fact, I'm wondering just how many of these asteroids that we've been afraid of are just piles of conglomerate, big pebble piles.
Like Ryugu?
Yep.
But rubble piles of good stuff, or rubble piles of junk?
That we don't know. That is so great. What's so great about the OSIRIS-REx mission? That is what's so brilliant about Hayabusa 2. It will give us a much better idea of what is out there. And you could probably even build a spacecraft from this rock if you really wanted to. Dyson sphere time, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you do with the asteroid belt? Make it useful. Build it into something. And of course, eventually, one of the things I would love to see, all these polluting processes we have on Earth, let's get them into orbit. Let's get them out beyond the orbit of the moon. We can do all our foundry work out there and everything else. And that way we can start putting the planet back into order.
The moon.
God, I sound like Hammond tonight. It's unbelievable.
Moon seems to lack fossil fuel for that to happen, though.
It's got water. You can make water from the moon.
Somewhat. It's still hard to do.
It's still hard to do, but the chemicals are there.
Some of them, yes.
And that's another thing. That's one of the things that's been postulated about Mars. I think it was Zubrin's fast return. You send a biosphere over there. You send a fuel production facility there. So when your manned capsule lands, the first thing you're going to do is tank it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're all ready. If there's a problem, you can just get back on board, blast off, rendezvous in orbit. The greatest thing is Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo laid the foundations for man to Mars because they did all the things you needed. They proved that we could exist in space in 0G. They then set out to prove that two spacecraft could dock safely and return to the Earth. They then made the first flight of the command module around the moon. They then docked the command module with the lunar lander, with the lunar module, and that flew to within a couple of 100 feet of the moon's surface. Think about it. That mission could have become first man on the moon very, very easily if they made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And they still would have had the fuel to return. But it would probably have upset the space program intensely because I think it was Apollo 10, where they actually got close to the surface of the moon, and Apollo 11 was supposed to be the actual moon landing. Mm-hmm. Just think what would have happened if it had been Apollo 10 that did the actual moon landing ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That and apart from the fact that all those conspiracy theory nuts would be
hypotheses.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get. We have about 3 minutes to go. A little bit of astronomy stuff. What's up with this guy? We got Mercury. You want to get a chance to see Mercury? Better do it within the next couple of days. It's about at greatest eastern elongation after sunset, but still pretty low. So get your views in soon on Mercury. The moon's going to be passing Venus for the next couple of days. Next Wednesday, the moon will be new. On the 9th, the moon will be south of Uranus, back in the evening skies, and then on March the 11th, the moon will be just south of Mars. By the way, Juno's out there. The asteroid Juno, third one, is approximately between Orion and Taurus the Bull. So, right.
Actually, Glenn made a comment. In reality, the moon's a poor candidate for colonization. Maybe, however, it would be a great place for old age pensioners to go because the stress on their hearts would not be as much. Yeah, thanks, Dredge. It's so great to see you, mate. As it would be living on the Earth. Some people
gravity-wise,
yeah. Some people said we should put places like that in Earth orbit where there's no gravity. But I think the human body would prefer a little bit of gravity, even if just to keep it happy.
I think it's mostly where it stays. I don't know if it really needs gravity. Once you're in microgravity, I think if you're there, you're fine. Even though your bone mass deteriorates, your muscles atrophy. I don't know. I have to look up and see if you're just fine if you actually stay there. But of course, it's the radiation issue. That's not a good thing for being out in space right now. So it might be good for your heart.
Laughing, said he wouldn't weigh like 60 pounds even. He would. That's why it would be such a good place, for want of a better term, to have an old folks home, because there's a lot less stress on your body.
That's right. And worst case scenario, if they get cranky, you just shoot them into the sun. On that note, everybody, it's time for us to head on out of here.
Captain Savick, this is the away team. Myself, Starstrom, and Marty are ready to beam up. Energize.
Thanks,
Have a good
everybody.
night. See you next week.
Appreciate you all listening in tonight. We'll got more programming coming up that we repeat every 4 hours for the next 24 hours. So stay tuned for more programming like Jodcast coming up. Thanks everybody in our chat room tonight. Really appreciate you all being here. And we'll see you again next Friday. So we'll say thanks everybody. And
Good night, everyone.
Clear
skies.
Good night.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.fm. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are Astronomy.fm. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is Astronomy.fm Radio.
Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.fm's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to astronomy.fm/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
There I was, doing my thing, and all of a sudden, wham! Astronomy right between the eyes.